She was silent for weeks. Then she spoke his name. The palace of Lithera 9 gleamed under the twin suns, its spires of white metal and crystal reaching toward the sky. Inside, the corridors were silent, save for the soft hum of machinery and the occasional footstep of a palace attendant. But within the grand chambers where Princess Alara resided, a different kind of silence had taken hold. For weeks, Alara had not spoken a single word. She had not laughed, nor had she answered questions. When others tried to approach, she would only look at them with calm, distant eyes, as if the world itself had become irrelevant. It was a silence that unsettled everyone in the palace. Ministers whispered, attendants nervously avoided her chambers, and even the palace guards, trained for years to face threats of all kinds, felt a tension that was impossible to name. Elias Kane, the human engineer assigned to the colony, had been watching her. He had known her since she arrived on Lithera 9, a brilliant and courageous young woman who had a way of commanding attention without demanding it. Her mind was sharp, her instincts precise, and her heart brave. He had always admired her intelligence, but now that admiration was laced with worry. He stood outside her chamber, glancing at the door. A week ago, he had tried to speak to her, asking simple questions about her work with the Erythians. She had not answered, not a single word. Her silence, he realized, was not ordinary. It was a shield, a barrier against something he could not yet see. Elias finally pushed the door open, careful not to startle her. The room was dim, lit by the soft glow of the palace's energy fields. Alara sat at a low table, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Papers, data tablets, and scattered sketches lay before her, but she did not seem to notice them. Her gaze was fixed on a crystal in the center of the table, reflecting light in intricate patterns across the walls. "Princess Alara," Elias said gently, stepping forward. I brought the reports you requested." She did not respond. She did not even look at him. He set the reports down and paused, unsure what to do next. Weeks of silence had taught him patience, though it was a patience that grew thinner with each passing day. Finally, he asked quietly, "Alara, are you well?" Her eyes flickered to him just for a moment and then returned to the crystal. That tiny movement was all the answer he received. Elias sighed and leaned against the table, scanning the scattered sketches. They were strange, intricate designs, not like anything he had seen before. Geometric shapes intertwined with alien symbols, lines connecting points in ways that seemed almost alive. He traced one with his finger, feeling a spark of recognition. It was a map, but not of Lithera 9 as he knew it. It was deeper, hidden, something beneath the surface. "What are you seeing, Alara?" he whispered, though he knew she would not answer. "What are you hiding?" No response came, only the silent glow of the crystal. Days passed, each one blending into the next. Elias studied her from a distance, observing how she moved, how she touched the sketches, how her fingers lingered over certain symbols. He began to notice patterns, subtle changes in her behavior that hinted at something beneath her silence. Occasionally, she would write small notes on scraps of paper, quickly hiding them when anyone approached. One evening, as the suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the palace gardens, Elias followed her to the edge of the cliff overlooking the valleys below. Alara stood alone, her hair catching the light, her posture tense. She did not speak, did not turn to him, yet he felt that she expected him to be there. "I don't understand," Elias said quietly, keeping his distance. "Why are you doing this to yourself, to everyone?" She finally moved, lifting a hand to point toward the valley. At first he thought it was meaningless, but then he noticed something, small lights moving in patterns across the landscape. Drones, perhaps, or something more. She had been watching them, tracking them, noting their paths in her sketches. Elias knelt beside her, careful not to invade her space. "These are not ordinary movements," he murmured. "What are they?" She did not answer. She only drew a line in the dirt with her finger, connecting the dots of the lights below. Her gesture was precise, intentional, full of meaning. Elias realized she was trying to communicate in her own way without words. The next morning, the palace erupted into chaos. The Erythians had sent emissaries, their tall forms moving swiftly through the halls. They demanded answers, their voices sharp and unyielding. Humans scrambled to maintain protocol, trying to explain the princess's silence, but the emissaries were unconvinced. To them, silence was not a shield, it was a sign of deception. Elias intervened, stepping forward with calm authority. "She is not hiding from you," he said. "She is protecting something. I do not yet know what, but I know her intentions are honorable." The Erythians paused, their expressions unreadable. "You speak boldly, human," one of them said, its voice deep and resonant. "Yet the princess's silence threatens trust. We must understand what she knows." Elias nodded. "And we will, but forcing answers from her will do no good. She must speak when she is ready." For the rest of the day, the palace was tense. Alara remained in her chambers, unmoving, silent, but Elias did not leave her side. He studied the sketches, the notes, the symbols she had left behind, piecing together the puzzle. He realized that her silence was not a sign of weakness, it was strategy. She had discovered something, and until she understood it fully, words could be dangerous. That night, Elias returned to the room, carrying a small device he had been constructing in secret. It was a translator of sorts, capable of reading subtle signals, patterns, and energy signatures that humans and Erythians could not easily detect. He placed it near the crystal on her table. Alara's eyes flickered to the device. She leaned forward slightly, tracing the air above it with her fingers. For the first time, there was a spark in her gaze, a hint that she might finally be ready to share something. "You are trying to help," she whispered, though the words were barely audible. Elias' heart leapt. "Yes," he said softly, "I will not leave you to face this alone. Whatever it is, we will face it together." She nodded, barely moving. Then, without warning, she returned to silence, her attention shifting back to the crystal and the sketches. Elias understood that this was only the beginning. Whatever secret she held was powerful, dangerous, and deeply hidden. Over the next days, he observed her more closely. She would write notes, fold them carefully, and hide them among the pages of her sketches. He found one and read it quietly. "Lithera 9 is not what it seems. The heart is awake. Only the brave may see the truth." Elias frowned. "The heart is awake," he murmured. He looked at the crystal, at the patterns of light at the valley below. There was something beneath the surface of this world, something ancient and intelligent, and Alara had found it. He realized then why she had been silent for so long. She had uncovered a secret that could change everything, not just for humans, but for the Erythians as well. And now, her silence was not just protection for herself. It was protection for all who might be affected by this discovery. The next morning, alarms rang through the palace. Sensors had detected unusual energy readings near the planet's core. Officials and scientists rushed to analyze the data, their faces pale with concern. Elias knew immediately that this was linked to what Alara had been investigating. He found her at the edge of the observatory, staring at the swirling energy patterns on the screens. "It's happening," he said. "Whatever you found, it's active." Alara's gaze did not waver. She raised her hand, pointing at the screen, tracing lines with her fingers, marking paths and connections. She was communicating, but in a language of symbols and movement rather than words. Elias watched closely, feeling a mixture of awe and fear. She had been preparing for this moment for weeks, silently, patiently. Now the time had come, and he had to trust her instincts. Hours passed, the palace buzzing with tension. Scientists debated, emissaries argued, and guards waited for orders. Through it all, Alara remained calm, her hands moving over her sketches, her eyes fixed on the heart of the planet. Elias stayed close, ready to act on her signals. Finally, as the sun set and the twin moons rose, Alara turned to him. She raised her hand, touching his arm lightly. Then, in a voice so soft it barely carried, she spoke a single word: "Elias." The sound was like a spark in the dark, breaking the silence that had held the palace for weeks. Elias felt a surge of hope and determination. Her voice was back, fragile but real, and it meant she trusted him. He nodded, understanding the gravity of the moment. "I'm here," he said. "We face it together." Alara nodded once, her gaze returning to the glowing patterns on the screen. Elias knew that whatever lay beneath Lithera 9, whatever ancient power or secret she had discovered, it would test them both. But for the first time in weeks, they were no longer alone. The night stretched on, filled with the hum of machines and the quiet determination of two humans standing against the unknown. The stars above Lithera 9 shone brightly, indifferent to the struggles below, yet ready to witness the courage of those brave enough to face the heart of the planet. And as Alara traced the paths of light, speaking in whispers only he could understand, Elias realized something profound. Her silence had been a shield, but her voice, when it returned, was a weapon of trust, knowledge, and hope. And together they would wield it to protect not just themselves, but the worlds that depended on their courage. The next morning, the palace hummed with activity. Alara's single word from the night before had set things in motion, though few in the palace understood its significance. For Elia's cane, however, it was a turning point. The princess's trust meant that he could now work closer with her, help uncover the secret she had discovered, and perhaps prevent disaster. Alara sat at her desk, sketches spread across the table like a constellation of symbols. Her hands moved quickly, connecting points, drawing lines, and annotating with careful precision. Elias approached quietly, careful not to disturb her rhythm. "You've been watching this for weeks," he said softly. "Do you understand what it is?" Alara looked up, her eyes sharp and focused. "I understand part of it," she said. "The rest, I need to confirm. There is something beneath the surface of this planet, something alive, something ancient." Elias leaned closer, examining the sketches. "Alive? You mean like a creature?" She shook her head. "Not a creature as you know it. It is more like a system or a mind connected to the energy of the planet. It has been dormant, hidden beneath the core for centuries, but now it is awakening." Elias' heart skipped a beat. He had worked on countless planetary engineering projects, but never anything like this. "And this is dangerous?" he asked. Alara nodded. "It could be, if we activate it accidentally, or if the wrong people find it, they could harness its power to destroy fleets, even planets. But if used carefully, it could protect colonies, stabilize regions, maybe even create new opportunities for life." Elias swallowed. "Then we have to control it. We have to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands." Alara's gaze softened. "That is why I stayed silent. I could not risk speaking until I knew who I could trust." Elias felt a mix of admiration and responsibility. Her silence had been a shield, but now that she had chosen him, he had to act. "Then we work together," he said firmly. "We figure out how it works and how to control it safely." Over the next few days, Elias and Alara worked in secret. They moved through the palace's archives, accessed restricted databases, and analyzed the energy patterns coming from beneath Lithera 9. The readings were strange, almost organic, as if the planet itself had a heartbeat. The hum of energy grew stronger each day, and sensors began to pick up subtle shifts in the planet's magnetic field. One afternoon, as they studied a set of ancient glyphs on a crystalline tablet, Elias noticed something. "These symbols," he said, pointing at a cluster of markings, "they resemble the movement patterns you observed from the drones in the valley." Alara's eyes widened. "Yes, the drones were scanning for something, or guarding it. They are connected to the system. Whoever controls them could influence the energy beneath the planet." Elias frowned. "Then we're not just racing against time. There may be others already trying to access this power." Alara nodded, her expression tense. "I suspect the Erythians know something, or at least part of the truth. That is why they have sent emissaries, why they are so restless. They are watching, waiting." Elias thought for a moment. "Then we need a plan. We can't move openly, not with the Erythians or even some humans watching. We'll need stealth, speed, and intelligence. We need to find the core before anyone else can." Alara stood and walked toward the large observation window overlooking the valley. The twin suns reflected off the crystal towers below, casting long, shifting shadows. "The path is dangerous," she said. "The core is not just buried, it is protected, not by walls or machines, but by the planet itself. Natural defenses, energy flows, even the system may try to resist intrusion. Only someone who understands the rhythms of Lithera 9 can survive it." Elias studied her carefully. "Then we understand it. You and I together can follow the patterns, navigate the dangers." Alara's gaze met his. "Do you trust me?" Elias smiled faintly. "I've always trusted you, now more than ever." Their plan took shape quickly. They would move under the cover of night, using one of the palace's older, less monitored transport ships. It was small, fast, and equipped with sensors that could detect energy anomalies. Elias made adjustments to the engines, reinforced the shields, and installed a scanner to track the unusual energy signals beneath the planet's surface. The night of departure arrived. The palace was quiet, most of its residents asleep or distracted by other duties. Alara and Elias moved swiftly, carrying only essential equipment. The air was crisp, the twin moons casting pale light over the landscape as they reached the ship. As they lifted off, the planet's surface stretched below them, a tapestry of forests, cliffs, and crystalline structures. The hum of energy from the core was faint, but steady, like a heartbeat calling to them. Inside the ship, Alara studied the navigational charts, her fingers tracing lines with precision. Elias monitored the energy readings, adjusting the ship's course to follow the fluctuating signals. "We're close," he said, his voice steady but tense. "I can feel it in the readings. The energy is strong here." Alara nodded. "It's alive, it is aware. We must move carefully." They descended into a canyon, the walls rising like jagged teeth on either side. Sensors began picking up interference, signals that scrambled their instruments and made navigation difficult. "The planet is testing us," Alara whispered. "It wants to know if we belong here." Elias tightened his grip on the controls. "Then we show it we do." For hours, they maneuvered through natural tunnels, energy fields rippling around them, forcing them to adjust constantly. The canyon opened into a vast underground chamber, crystalline structures glowing with internal light. At the center, a pulse of energy radiated outward, like the heartbeat Alara had described. Elias and Alara landed carefully, stepping out into the chamber. The air was thick, charged with energy that made their skin tingle. Every movement they made caused ripples in the energy field, as if the planet were alive and observing. Alara approached a glowing structure in the center, her hand hovering over its surface. Symbols appeared beneath her touch, patterns that matched her sketches. "It's responding," she said softly. "It recognizes my presence." Elias stepped closer, awe in his eyes. "It's incredible. I've never seen anything like this." Suddenly, the energy pulsed sharply and the chamber shook. Elias caught himself on a crystalline wall as dust fell around them. "It's warning us," he said. "We need to be careful." Alara nodded, studying the pulse. "It is testing our intentions. It wants to know if we are here to protect it or to use it for destruction." Elias glanced at her. "Then we prove it. We show it we are allies, not threats." They moved carefully, Alara placing her hands on the energy field, her fingers tracing the patterns in a delicate dance. Elias followed, mirroring her movements, connecting his own hands to hers in a gesture of cooperation. The pulses slowed, the tremors subsided, and the chamber seemed to breathe with them. "It accepts us," Alara whispered. "It knows we are here to help, not to harm." Elias exhaled, relief washing over him. "Then we proceed. We find the core and secure it before anyone else can reach it." They moved deeper into the chamber, guided by the energy pulses. Crystalline bridges spanned deep chasms, and glowing veins of energy ran along the walls like rivers of light. Every step was a test, every movement observed by the living system beneath the planet. Hours passed. They navigated through obstacles, deciphered patterns, and avoided traps that the planet itself seemed to create. Finally, they reached the heart of the chamber, a massive crystalline structure, pulsating with energy that seemed to resonate with life itself. Alara stepped forward, her hand hovering over the surface. Symbols appeared, responding to her touch. She traced them carefully, whispering softly. "This is the core," she said. "This is what has been silent beneath the planet for centuries, and now it is awake." Elias studied the structure in awe. "It's beautiful and terrifying. The power here, it's beyond anything we imagined." Alara nodded. "And dangerous, if it falls into the wrong hands." Her voice trailed off, the thought unspoken but heavy in the air. Elias reached out, placing a hand on hers. "Then we protect it, together. No one else can touch this without our permission." Alara finally smiled, a small but genuine expression that lit her face. "Together," she agreed. As they began analyzing the core, mapping its energy flows and understanding its patterns, Elias realized something important. The princess's silence had not been weakness. It had been preparation, patience, and strategy. And now, with her voice returned, even in whispers they could act. The chamber hummed around them, alive and aware. And for the first time, Elias felt the weight of their mission, not just as humans, but as protectors of something far older and more powerful than they could have imagined. The journey had just begun, and the world outside, the galaxy itself, would soon discover that two humans, guided by courage, intelligence, and trust, had awakened a secret that could change everything. The chamber pulsed with energy, casting shifting lights across the crystalline. "Walls." Elias Kane could feel it under his feet, through the soles of his boots. It was not just power, it was awareness, alive and curious, testing every move they made. Beside him, Princess Alara's hands moved over the core with precision, tracing symbols, patterns, and lines he could barely comprehend. Every motion she made seemed to calm the energy, like a key turning in a lock. "This is incredible," Elias whispered, stepping closer. I've seen advanced technology, hidden alien devices, even artificial intelligence, but nothing like this. It's alive, it's conscious. Alara nodded without looking at him. It is old, older than the first human settlement on Lithera 9, older than the Erythians themselves. It has waited for someone who could understand it, someone who would not abuse it. I think it chose to reveal itself to me because of that. Elias studied her expression. She was no longer the quiet, withdrawn princess who had sat in silence for weeks. There was purpose in her eyes, focus, and clarity. She had found her voice, and with it, her determination. Then we must understand it completely, he said. Every pattern, every signal, we can't afford a mistake if this power is misused. Alara cut him off with a sharp glance. I know what is at stake. That is why I stayed silent. Words are weak against forces like this. Actions must be precise, and now, with your help, we can act. Together, they began mapping the energy flows of the core. Alara's touch guided Elias, teaching him how to interpret the pulses, the glowing lines, and the faint hums that vibrated through the chamber. The core responded to them, slowing its rhythm as they synchronized with its patterns. Hours passed. The outside world faded away. Elias was aware only of the pulsating energy, the princess's careful movements, and the growing understanding between them. He realized that her silence had been a test, not only for the planet but for him as well. She had needed to know that he could act with patience, intelligence, and trust. As the night deepened, a sudden vibration shook the chamber. Elias grabbed onto a crystalline pillar for support. "What was that?" he asked, alarmed. Alara's eyes narrowed. "Someone is coming," she said quietly. "They have found us. The energy spikes. They are responding to our presence." Elias' heart pounded. "Then we must move quickly. Who could it be? Humans? Erythians?" Alara shook her head. "Both, possibly mercenaries, too. Whoever it is, they want the core, and they will not hesitate to take it by force." Elias glanced at the entrance. The faint glow of lights appeared at the far end of the chamber, moving swiftly but cautiously. Figures were approaching, armored and armed, their movements deliberate. "They're here," Elias whispered. "We have to defend it." Alara placed her hand on his arm. "No," she said firmly. "We cannot fight, not yet. The core itself is our ally. We must use it." Elias frowned. "Use it? How?" Alara pointed at the glowing patterns beneath their feet. "We synchronize with it fully. It will protect us if we show the right intentions, but we must be precise. Any hesitation, and it may consider the intruders a threat and act unpredictably." Elias took a deep breath. He trusted her. Together, they placed their hands on the core, letting its energy flow through them. The hum grew louder, vibrating in harmony with their heartbeat. Lights traced their movements, patterns forming in the air like a living map. The approaching figures froze, sensing the change. The core pulsed sharply, and energy waves radiated outward. The intruders stumbled, their sensors disrupted, their communications scrambled. It was as if an invisible barrier had formed, shielding Elias and Alara. "Keep focus," Alara whispered. "Show the core we are protectors, not threats." Elias nodded, concentrating. He felt the energy weaving around him, responding to his calm determination. Slowly, the waves expanded, forming a protective dome that extended across the chamber. The intruders tried to advance, but the energy pushed them back, forcing them to retreat. Alara's voice was soft but firm. "It trusts us now. We can move forward." With careful steps, they navigated deeper into the chamber, guided by the core's glowing patterns. Bridges of energy formed beneath their feet, illuminating paths through jagged crystalline terrain. The intruders regrouped at the entrance, but the protective barrier kept them at bay. Finally, they reached the heart of the core, a massive crystalline structure pulsating with vibrant energy. Alara stepped forward, her hands hovering over its surface. Symbols appeared, responding to her touch, revealing intricate connections, energy flows, and potential dangers. "This is it," she whispered. "The heart of Lithera 9, the source of its power. Whoever controls this can protect or destroy entire fleets." Elias studied the structure, awestruck. "It's beautiful and terrifying. We have to secure it before anyone else does." Alara nodded. "Yes. But securing it is not enough. We must understand it fully, or it could reject us, or worse, anyone else who tries to control it." They worked in silence, hands moving over the crystalline surface, tracing patterns and unlocking information embedded in the energy. Hours passed, each moment filled with careful precision. The chamber seemed to respond to their combined focus, pulses becoming rhythmic, predictable, and safe. Suddenly, a sharp alarm echoed through their suits. Sensors detected movement near the outer chamber. Elias and Alara exchanged a glance. The intruders had returned, more organized and determined. "They are not leaving," Elias said quietly. "We have to act fast." Alara nodded. "We will show them the power of unity, trust me." With a final gesture, she activated a series of energy conduits. The core's pulses extended outward, forming barriers, guiding paths, and illuminating hidden routes. The intruders were trapped, unable to navigate the shifting energy fields. Some fell, some retreated, and some froze, overwhelmed by the living system of the planet. Elias watched, amazed. "You control it almost like a conductor of an orchestra." Alara smiled faintly. "It listens to intent, and our intent is clear, protection, not destruction." With the intruders temporarily halted, they focused back on the core. Alara traced the final symbols, revealing the key to safely harnessing its energy. The core's glow intensified, and for a moment the chamber was filled with light, warmth, and a hum that resonated deep in their bones. Elias felt a sense of awe and humility. "We've done it," he whispered. "We understand it. We can protect it." Alara's gaze met his, calm and steady. "Yes, but understanding is only the beginning. Others will come, and we must be ready. Knowledge alone is not enough. We must act with courage, intelligence, and trust." Elias nodded. "Then we face it together." As they prepared to leave the chamber, Alara paused. "Elias, I have spoken more in these past hours than I have in weeks, but my voice is not just mine anymore. It carries responsibility. Every word, every decision will matter now." Elias placed a hand over hers. "I understand. And I will stand by you no matter what comes next." They returned to the ship, navigating the tunnels carefully. The intruders had retreated, but the knowledge of their presence weighed heavily on them. Whoever they were, they now knew about the core and its power. The real challenge was only beginning. As they ascended through the planet's atmosphere, the twin moons casting pale light on the landscape, Elias glanced at Alara. Her expression was calm, determined, and unafraid. She had emerged from her silence stronger, wiser, and more capable than ever. "You were right," he said quietly. "Silence was not weakness, it was strategy, and your voice, it is powerful." Alara smiled faintly. "Silence protects, voice acts, but both must be used wisely." "We are only beginning to understand the responsibility we carry." Elias nodded. "Then we prepare, for whoever comes next and for the choices we must make." The palace of Lithra 9 awaited them, unaware of the events unfolding beneath its surface. But Elias and Alara knew that the balance of power had shifted. The core's energy was alive, aware, and now allied with them. They had proven themselves worthy, but others would test them, challenge them, and attempt to seize what they had discovered. Yet for the first time in weeks, Alara spoke with confidence, guiding Elias, sharing knowledge, and planning their next steps. Her silence had ended, but her mission had only begun. And together they would face whatever dangers came, armed with courage, intelligence, and the trust that had grown between them. The galaxy beyond Lithra 9 was vast, full of unknown threats and ancient powers. But for now, two humans stood united, ready to protect a secret older than the stars themselves. And in that unity, they found strength, hope, and the certainty that even in silence, a single voice, when spoken, could change everything. The twin suns had barely risen over Lithra 9 when alarms rang through the palace. Elias Kane was already awake, scanning the sensor feeds. The energy readings from the planet's core had spiked overnight, and the sensors now indicated multiple approaching ships, human and Erythian alike. Alara appeared behind him, her expression calm but resolute. "They've found out we've accessed the core," she said softly. "They know its power is active and they will come to claim it." Elias frowned. "Then we have no time to waste. We need to move, secure the perimeter, and be ready to defend it." Alara shook her head. "Not defend it, outmaneuver them. The core is more than a weapon. It can guide us, protect us if we understand it. But we cannot let anyone approach it directly. We have to use intelligence, not brute force." Elias studied her. She had been silent for weeks, but now her words carried authority, strategy, and clarity. "Then we act smart," he said. "Show me what to do." They moved quickly through the palace, preparing a small team of trusted human engineers and Erythian allies who had shown themselves honorable. Alara and Elias explained the situation, though in limited detail to avoid leaks. Everyone understood that failure meant not just personal danger, but the potential for the galaxy to shift into chaos. Outside, the approach of ships became visible on the horizon. Sleek human fighters, agile and armed, accompanied by larger, heavily armored Erythian vessels. They moved with precision, scanning for the source of the energy spike, unaware that it was being guided subtly by Alara and Elias. "This is it," Elias murmured, watching the incoming fleet. "We have to control the engagement without exposing ourselves." Alara placed a hand on his arm. "Remember what we learned in the chamber. The core responds to intent. If we show confidence, strategy, and purpose, it will assist us. Hesitation will be costly." Elias nodded. Together, they activated a series of energy conduits installed in the surrounding valleys and cliffs. The conduits were linked to the readings of the core beneath the planet's surface. Pulses of energy, almost invisible, began to ripple across the landscape. The first human fighter descended toward the valley, sensors scanning aggressively. As it neared, a ripple of energy from the conduits deflected its instruments, sending false readings back to the pilot. The fighter wavered, drifting slightly off course. "Perfect," Alara said. "Now we guide them." Using gestures and subtle hand movements, Alara channeled the energy from the conduits, shaping barriers and invisible paths. Elias mirrored her, adjusting pulse strength and timing. The intruders' ships began to encounter minor obstacles, energy fields that seemed natural, like dense fog or shifting terrain, but were actually controlled, precise, and non-lethal. "Keep them contained," Alara whispered. "We cannot risk destruction. We need them confused, hesitant, but unharmed." Elias nodded, adjusting the conduits. The fleet faltered, moving slowly and carefully, trying to analyze the strange readings. Communication between the ships became garbled, their instruments unreliable. The energy from Lithera 9 core, guided by Alara and Elias, was subtly repelling them without a single shot being fired. Hours passed as they maneuvered the ships, guiding them through energy barriers, over cliffs, and around valleys. The intruders struggled to make sense of the situation, unsure of the planet's behavior. They did not realize that two humans were controlling the flow, guiding the energy to protect the core. Elias glanced at Alara. "You're incredible," he said. "I never imagined one person could do this," she smiled faintly. "It's not just me, it's the knowledge of the planet, the synchronization with its energy and trust. Trust allows the core to respond." Suddenly, an Erythian warship broke formation, attempting to bypass the energy fields with brute force. Alara's eyes narrowed. "It wants to test us. We cannot let it pass." She raised her hands, channeling energy more forcefully. The conduits responded, forming a visible barrier that deflected the ship's approach. It bounced back, engines straining, sensors failing. Elias adjusted the pulses to reinforce the barrier, and the ship retreated, forced back into the formation. "Good," Elias said. "They are learning the rules. They understand we control the flow." Alara nodded. "But they will test again. We must stay vigilant." The sun rose higher, casting sharp light across the valley. The ships below continued their attempts, testing energy fields, moving cautiously. Alara and Elias maintained focus, using rhythm, timing, and subtle gestures to guide each pulse. They were a conductor and a partner, orchestrating a symphony of energy to outmaneuver a fleet without harming a single life. "Look there," Elias whispered, pointing to a smaller human reconnaissance vessel trying to sneak around the valley cliffs. Alara's eyes followed. With a flick of her hand, a ripple of energy shifted, creating a small barrier. The ship veered off course, forced to retreat to a safer path. "Every move counts," she said. "The core reacts to confidence. Fear, hesitation, or aggression will break the synchronization. We cannot falter." Elias nodded. He realized that the challenge was not just physical or tactical, it was mental and emotional. Every pulse, every gesture, every thought affected the flow. They were connected to the planet and to each other in a way that demanded complete focus. As the day progressed, the fleet's attempts became more organized, coordinated, and aggressive. Some ships tried to overwhelm the energy barriers by sheer force, while others attempted stealth approaches. Alara guided Elias in adjusting the conduits, creating decoys, rerouting energy pulses, and subtly guiding the ships into positions where they could not cause harm. Hours of careful maneuvering passed. Sweat dripped from Elias' brow. His muscles ached from the constant adjustments. But Alara remained calm, a steady presence directing him, guiding the energy, communicating with subtle gestures and glances. Finally, as the suns began to set, the last of the intruding ships hesitated, confused, unable to breach the valley. The energy pulses calmed, stabilizing the area. The fleet, unable to navigate the shifting fields, retreated slowly, forced to return to orbit or withdraw entirely. Elias exhaled, leaning against a conduit. "We did it! They couldn't reach the core." Alara nodded, a faint smile on her face. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. Now they know where the power lies. They will come again, stronger and smarter. We must prepare." Elias glanced at the valley, at the energy conduits still humming, at the shifting lights that marked their control. "We can do this," he said. "Together we can outthink them every time." Alara's eyes met his. "Not just outthink, we must lead. Show that humans and the core can be a force for protection, not destruction. If we act wisely, others will learn to trust us rather than fear us." Elias felt a surge of pride and determination. The princess who had been silent for weeks had returned, not only with her voice but with clarity, courage, and strategy. She was no longer a figure to be protected. She was a leader, a guide, and a partner in facing the galaxy's challenges. As night fell, the palace below seemed calm, unaware of the battle that had taken place in the valley. But Elias knew that their actions had changed the balance. The core was safe, for now, but the galaxy would not forget its existence. Alara placed her hand on his arm. "We need to study the core further," she said. "We need to understand its full potential, its limits, and how to use it to protect life, not to destroy. Knowledge is the key, and preparation is the only defense against those who would misuse it." Elias nodded. "Then we continue. We map, we plan, we prepare. And we trust each other." Alara's gaze softened. "Yes, trust is everything." The night stretched on, filled with quiet determination. The stars above Lithera 9 shone brightly, indifferent to the struggles below, yet silently witnessing the courage of two humans who had faced a force far older and stronger than themselves. Elias and Alara worked through the night, analyzing energy patterns, refining conduits, and preparing for the challenges yet to come. They shared ideas, tested theories, and spoke more freely than they had in weeks. Her voice, once silent, had become a beacon of strategy, insight, and hope. And as dawn approached, painting the crystalline spires of the palace in soft gold, Elias realized something profound. They had won the first challenge, not by force, but by intelligence, trust, and careful action. The HFY truth was clear. Humanity's greatest strength was not sheer power, but ingenuity, courage, and the ability to work together against impossible odds. Alara looked at him, eyes calm but determined. "Tomorrow they will come again," she said, "but we will be ready, and we will show them what humans and our choices can achieve." Elias smiled faintly, feeling a deep sense of purpose. "Then we face them together. And this time we will not just defend, we will lead." The valley below was quiet now, but the hum of energy from the conduits and the planet's core reminded them that the challenge was far from over. Lithera 9 had chosen its protectors, and Elias and Alara were ready to meet whatever came next. With courage, intelligence, and the unwavering bond that had grown between them in the silence and in the voice that had returned. The twin suns barely pierced the horizon as the first. Light touched the spires of Lithera 9. Elias Kane and Princess Alara stood on a cliff overlooking the valley below. The energy conduits pulsed faintly, a quiet hum beneath their feet. After days of careful preparation, the moment had come. Their adversaries, the human and Arithian forces who sought the power of the core, were returning. This time it would not be a game of evasion, it would be a confrontation. Alara adjusted her stance, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "They've learned from the last engagement," she said. "They will be smarter, faster, and more aggressive, but we are ready. We have studied the core, learned its patterns, and synchronized with it. Today, we are not defending, we are asserting control." Elias nodded, checking the energy conduits one last time. "The core will respond to us then, to our intent." Alara's eyes met his. "Yes, but intent alone is not enough. Courage, clarity, and trust must guide it. If we falter even slightly, they could exploit it, or it could act unpredictably." Elias swallowed, aware of the weight of her words. "Then let's make every moment count." The first ships appeared over the horizon, sleek and menacing, their sensors scanning, weapons ready. Elias and Alara remained calm, hands resting lightly on the conduits that spread across the valley like veins of light. "They will test us," Alara whispered. "We cannot falter." As the fleet approached, energy pulses extended outward, forming barriers and paths in the air. Ships wavered as sensors malfunctioned, drawn away by the subtle manipulation of the core's energy. But unlike the previous engagement, these intruders were organized. Some ships moved directly toward the valley, attempting to break through the energy fields. Others circled above, searching for weak points. Alara stepped forward, her fingers tracing patterns in the air. The conduits responded instantly, amplifying the pulses, guiding energy flows to block the most dangerous approaches. Ilias mirrored her movements, adjusting power levels, shaping the invisible barriers with precision. Together, they became one with the core, their combined intent guiding its responses. One of the Erythian warships broke formation, engines flaring, aiming to pierce the barrier directly. Alara's eyes narrowed. It seeks a decisive strike. We must act. Ilias followed her gestures, and the energy field intensified, creating a shockwave that slowed the approaching ship without harming it. The vessel skidded, then retreated, forced back into formation. Alara whispered almost to herself, "They underestimate human ingenuity." But they will learn. Hours passed as the battle unfolded. Energy barriers shifted and morphed, guiding intruders into paths that neutralized their advantage without causing destruction. Ilias and Alara worked tirelessly, fully synchronized with each other and with the core. Their combined focus created a rhythm, a dance of strategy and intent that even the most advanced technology could not predict. At one point, a small squadron of human mercenaries attempted to flank them, bypassing the main barriers. Alara noticed immediately. "They are clever," she said, "but we are cleverer." With subtle gestures, she manipulated the energy pulses to redirect them toward a narrow canyon. The ships became trapped, caught in a maze of shifting energy fields that allowed no room for maneuver. Ilias adjusted the conduits to amplify the effect, and the squadron was forced to retreat, engines straining, unable to escape without surrender. The intruders had been contained, but they would not give up easily. More ships began approaching from a different angle, heavier, faster, and armed with weapons designed to pierce defenses. Alara's expression hardened. "We cannot rely solely on defense. We must assert control over the engagement itself." Ilias glanced at her. "You mean lead them?" She nodded. "Yes, the core responds not only to protection but to command. If we act decisively, show mastery of its energy, the intruders will have no choice but to respect it." Together, they projected energy pulses outward in a pattern that guided the ships, her movements precise, confident, and commanding. The fleet, caught in the rhythm of the energy, was forced to follow. The core's pulses shaped the battlefield, turning a potential confrontation into a display of control and strategy. Ilias felt a surge of pride. "This is incredible. You're not just controlling the energy, you're controlling them." Alara smiled faintly. "We are controlling the outcome, not harming them. That is the difference. Power used wisely protects life. Power used recklessly destroys it." As the day wore on, the remaining intruders realized the futility of their attempts. The human and Erythian fleets, once aggressive and confident, were now cautious, forced into positions dictated by the core's energy and the humans who had learned to guide it. Slowly, one by one, they retreated, unwilling to risk destruction or defeat. Ilias exhaled, leaning against a conduit. "We've done it. They couldn't reach the core." Alara's gaze softened but remained focused. "For now, others will come. They will test again, but today we have shown them what humans, guided by intelligence and courage, can achieve." Ilias glanced at the valley below. "And we've done it without a single life lost. That is something remarkable." Alara's eyes met his. "That is the strength of humanity. Strength is not measured by destruction, but by the ability to protect, to act wisely, and to lead. We have proven that today." As the sun set, casting long shadows over the crystalline spires of the palace, Ilias and Alara returned to the central chamber of the core. The energy pulsed steadily, calm now, in rhythm with their hearts. They approached the heart of the core, placing their hands lightly on its surface. "It is safe," Ilias whispered, "and alive, and it trusts us." Alara nodded. "Yes, but trust must be maintained. Knowledge and preparation are our responsibility. We must teach others to respect it, not fear it." Ilias watched her, feeling a deep sense of awe. The princess who had been silent for weeks had returned with a voice stronger than ever. Her words were not loud or forceful, but full of clarity, courage, and wisdom. She had shown him, and through him, the galaxy, that humans could rise to challenges with intelligence, strategy, and heart. For hours, they worked together, analyzing energy flows, mapping potential threats, and understanding the full capabilities of the core. They discussed strategies, possibilities, and contingencies, ensuring that no force could exploit it in the future. Finally, Alara stepped back, a small smile on her face. We have done all we can for now. The core is secure, the intruders have retreated, and we understand its patterns. We have acted wisely, and we have learned much. Elias nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. We've proven something today, not just to them but to ourselves. Humanity can face forces older than the stars and emerge victorious through courage, intelligence, and trust. Alara's gaze softened as she looked at him. And we will continue to prove it. We are only beginning. The galaxy is vast, full of challenges, but also full of opportunity. We must act with wisdom and honor. That is what separates us from those who seek power without understanding. Elias smiled. Then we continue, together. The twin moons rose over Lithera 9, casting silver light across the crystalline landscape. The energy of the core pulsed quietly, a heartbeat now in perfect harmony with the humans who had protected it. The planet, once indifferent, now recognized them as guardians. Alara turned to Elias, her voice soft but firm. I have spoken my name to you. My trust is yours, but the responsibility we carry, it is greater than any one of us. We must be vigilant always. Elias took her hand gently. And I will be, always. We face this together, and we will rise to meet whatever comes. The palace below remained unaware of the battle and the victory that had unfolded in the valley. But the actions of two humans, one who had found her voice and one who had never doubted her, had shifted the balance. The HFY truth was clear. Courage, intelligence, and trust could triumph even against forces older and stronger than themselves. Alara placed her hand over the heart of the core once more, feeling its rhythm. The galaxy will test us, she said. But we have shown today that humanity, when united with knowledge and courage, can rise to meet any challenge. That is our strength. Elias nodded, standing beside her. And we will continue to rise, together. The galaxy will remember that humans are not just survivors. They are protectors, leaders, and a force for good. The night stretched on, filled with quiet determination. Stars glittered in the sky, distant and unchanging, yet silently witnessing the courage of two humans who had faced a power older than the stars themselves. Lithera 9 had chosen its guardians, and in that choice, the fate of the core and perhaps the galaxy had been secured. As dawn approached, the valley glowed faintly with the energy of the core, calm and steady, ready to respond to those who would act with wisdom and integrity. Elias and Alara stood together, guardians of a secret that could have destroyed worlds, and yet, through courage, intelligence, and trust, had become a force for protection and hope. And in that unity, that clarity, and that courage, they found the truth. Even the silence of weeks could lead to a voice strong enough to change the fate of worlds.